5 new cases of COVID-19 confirmed in Muskoka. 2 mayors give more insights on the local situation. And how businesses in Gravenhurst are faring. All that and more coming up right now. Welcome to Cogeco News. We are live at 5. I'm James Bowler with what's happening in your community. And to our top story, a sudden increase in Muskoka's COVID-19 confirmed cases. Dr. Gardner with the Simcoe Muskoka District Health Unit updated us earlier today.
Another notable change is a substantial increase in the number of cases in Muskoka. So before I indicated that we only had 1 case in Muskoka, we now have a total of 6. So of the recent cases, 5 are from Muskoka. My key points are always about the importance of community transmission, that remains the major concern that we have, that there is transmission in our communities, that this is the case in both Simcoe and Muskoka. Therefore, people need to exercise their physical distancing from each other. They need to carefully consider whether or not they need to go out at all. And when you do, keeping a 2-meter distance from other people, hand washing on a frequent basis, not going out if you feel unwell, and home self-isolating if that's the case, avoiding crowds. A number of venues and non-essential work environments have been closed, and people need to respect that and abide by that. Now is the time for us to be acting in this way to avoid transmission in our community.
Now, just to note, these 5 new cases, 2 from Huntsville, 3 from Gravenhurst, were all travel related, and one of the people has already recovered. All were over the age of 50, and they're all in self-isolation. A special meeting of Huntsville Town Council takes place tonight. Our Scott Acton is standing by with the details. Scott?
That's right, James. At tonight's meeting, Council will hear a staff report on the financial implications of COVID-19, implications including the possibility of staff layoffs and cuts to service.
Well, I hope tonight we have more information provided to us by staff and that we will make a better decision than we maybe made last Thursday. I think there's a lot of anxiousness at the council table last week, and then the need to get something done right away. But I think with the information staff brings back tonight, we'll be able to really rationalize out what should be done today and maybe in 2 weeks and 3 weeks, that type.
Labor is essentially our biggest expense, and we're bleeding money.
That was Bob Stone at Thursday's meeting. While some councillors were calling for mass staff layoffs, others had a more calculated approach on how to best manage the municipality during this time.
I hope both ends of our discussion end up meeting right in the middle, and that we just do what makes good financial sense, good safety sense for our staff, and yet we are positioned to help our town open back up the day we're given the green light to do that.
James, I also asked the mayor about the much talked about issue of seasonal residents flocking to Muskoka to ride out this pandemic.
You know, Scott, for me, I've tried to say there's no difference between a permanent resident and a seasonal resident, and I want people to be safe as far as travel goes. So if they are traveling up here from the city, I want them to travel safely, and I want them to do exactly the same thing here as they would do at home, and that's, stay home when possible and practice social distancing. I've been into our grocery stores once in the last week, and there doesn't seem to be a great strain on the shelves now. I think that's kind of leveled out. And our hospital, I've reached out to them, and they've said they will service whoever comes to their door in both Bracebridge and Huntsville Hospital. It doesn't matter whether they're seasonal or not. So I think we really need to get past that seasonal versus permanent residents versus non-permanent residents, and everybody just do the best they can. And then we won't impact our hospital.
So James, tonight's virtual meeting of Huntsville Town Council gets underway at 6 o'clock. You can see it on the town's website or on our website, yourtv.tv/Muskoka. With that, James, we'll send it back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Scott. And on a side note, Mayor Karen Terziano was in our studio to record a community update on COVID-19 earlier today. You can see that on our website. Again, that's yourtv.tv/Muskoka. And we are going to take a quick break, but stay with us for more. Welcome back. Joining me once again from his home office is Mayor Graydon Smith. Graydon, I just want to do a quick check-in. Are you doing okay over there? Are you going stir crazy yet?
I'm doing okay. I'm kind of going Grizzly Adams here. Beard's growing in. And as you can see, I'm not always dressing up for work every day anymore, but we're doing all right.
Well, that's okay. I'm wearing all the suit you need. Graydon, let me start off by asking you, what is the situation right now with Bracebridge? And you know, I know there's been a meeting between council so far. What are some of the main concerns you're hearing, and how are things being dealt with?
Well, last week we dealt with the issue of taxation, which the interim bills are due on the 31st, and so those have been pushed back 60 days. I think that was the primary concern of people from a financial standpoint that had that large bill looming. So that will provide some relief for some folks. For others, it's continues to be a concern about the number of people that are here and how we'll all manage that. And I think we are managing that. And for the rest of the folks, and maybe for everybody, it's really a matter of, I want to stay safe. How do I stay safe? And what do I need to do?
So I do want to bring one portion up, which I don't think has been discussed yet, or it has been and I haven't caught it. But in Huntsville, there was some discussion about laying off certain staff because the money just isn't coming in right now to the municipality. Where does Bracebridge stand with that? Have you been laying off staff, or are you still full house? What's the situation over there?
I think we'll look at that maybe with a little more time. Right now it's early days in this, and I recognize that it's very concerning in terms of municipal revenues and expenditures. I've been speaking with my colleagues at AMO. I know they're consulting with municipal HR professionals, and I think we want to try and understand where municipalities as a whole are headed. That being said, each municipality is different, and we'll need to make decisions that are right for them, and that's what councils are for. And we'll be taking a look as we go along at how we best need to be structured. I think the other thing to bear in mind is this won't last forever. So if you scale down, you need to scale up again. And what do you need to do that, and what does that look like? So certainly questions for probably the near term future, but right now we're not convening a meeting to look at that anytime soon.
Now, business, good point on bringing up business not lasting soon. It's not lasting for a lot of local people that live in Bracebridge, and this is their only income coming in. When businesses are able to open again, is there any role that the town could be playing in helping them get back on their feet again?
Well, I think one of the things we're very good at is communicating, and through assistance from the local BIA for our downtown merchants, and through our economic development department at the town, and through the Chamber of Commerce. I'm sure that we'll all be working together to get the word out that Bracebridge is open again and ready for visitors, and wanting to get business back to where it was, or at least as close as we can get. At the same time, we've got some programs fairly limited in scope, like our community improvement plan that has been investing in businesses for years in terms of signage and property improvements throughout a number of parts of our community. So perhaps we'll look at changing that program around a little bit and repurposing that. But I think the challenge for municipalities will always be that the provincial government hasn't laid that role out for us to be a grantor of a huge volume of funds. We don't have that kind of income or structure to say we'll have a program with, $1 million or $2 million in it. We'll always be working with a relatively modest amount of dollars, but trying to stretch those dollars as far as we can to help all our businesses in the community.
So let's talk about the province. I know you had mentioned in one of your videos before that you've been speaking with Doug Ford. You've been texting with him. You've been kind of going back and forth. Is he giving you any indication on what kind of help might be coming to the municipality specifically? I mean, we've heard that they're helping businesses, healthcare. We've heard nothing about municipalities. So is there something coming through?
The question's been asked, but not answered yet. Certainly all municipalities are concerned about that, whether it's because our revenues are being at very least deferred, and perhaps we'll see some more non-payment, which will impact our cash flow because people just can't afford to pay. So we'll continue to work through both Premier Ford and the Minister of Municipal Affairs, Minister Clark, who is also a great set of ears and always willing to listen and make sure they know that municipalities will undoubtedly need some help out of this.
Great. And the last thing I want to ask you is about the contentious cottagers issue. We've heard about it from so many people now. We've seen it on social media. I just want to hear your thoughts on this issue.
Well, I'd say I was probably the first person out of the gate to talk about it, which seems like a long time ago, but it was only 8 days ago now. And I took some flack for that. I'll be very honest. I took some both darts and laurels, depending on what side of the argument people were on. And I didn't say it to really provoke either, but more to make people understand that capacities are limited. And whether people want to believe that or not, that's the fact of the matter. Right now, we're incredibly fortunate. We've got hospitals with not much business. And that's because a lot of the elective things have been canceled in our hospital like they have in other places. And we haven't seen a big run on hospitalizations required due to people having a positive test for COVID. That could change in a day. I mean, we've seen the tragedy that's unfolded in Bob Cajun in a long-term care home. So if something like that sweeps through a segment of the population, suddenly you go from an empty ICU to a full one. I think what it really means, it's not about cottagers versus full-time or seasonals versus full-time. It's really about everybody having a plan. Full-time residents here tend to have one plan, which is to start with their local hospital and go forward. Our seasonal residents may have alternate plans available to them from another community that they have property in and live in. And so what they should do is just think about what plan is best for them, recognizing the capacity challenges we have here. And if something goes wrong, be prepared to execute that plan. The cottagers that are here, I highly doubt will leave, although it's been directed by the medical officer of Health for Canada and the premier that cottagers, should stay in their principal residence. Like I said, I don't think we're going to go backwards and see people leaving Muskoka. I think the people that are here, and we need to deal with that, and everyone needs that plan.
Graydon, we have to go to break, but I really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you so much, and thank you for all the work you're doing.
Pleasure as always. Thank you.
All right, we are going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. joining me now from her home is April McClung from Withy Financial. Thank you very much, April, for taking the time to chat with us today.
Sure.
So we are going to be talking a bit about, what's happening with the markets. We actually had a conversation, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks ago now, when this was starting to have some effect on the markets. So April, tell me, from your perspective, where are we at now, and how concerned should people be about their finances?
Well, it's certainly interesting how the tables have turned from the first time that we talked when it was just starting, and it didn't seem like it was going to be much of a thing, to where we're at now with all the self-isolation and things like that. But any financial expert that you're talking to is still very positive about the markets themselves. Of course, we're in a recession. Things are down from what they were a few weeks ago. That's no surprise to anybody. But the outlook is still really good from a financial perspective. So we're still actually kind of waiting for the bottom to hit, as coronaviruses are still increasing. We're kind of waiting for that to level off, because that will kind of signal the beginning of the end, if you will, as far as the virus and being able to recover. So even now, though, as things are continuing to be diagnosed and to maybe get worse, if you will, the outlook is still really good from a market perspective. Everyone is saying that we're in a much better place than what we were like in 2008, 2009 during the global financial crisis. The banks are really pitching in to help out and help people through the crisis, and everyone's pulling together to make it be, as good as what it can given the circumstances.
So April, I'm curious, when this kind of does its rebound, whenever that does happen, is there going to be an opportunity, maybe a good opportunity, to start buying up more stocks at that point? Is that something you would suggest?
I would say the good opportunity is right now. You don't want to wait until the market starts to recover. And that's probably the best advice that I can give. Everyone tries to time the market, right? And so we wait until it's too low before we get out, and then we wait until it's gone up too much before we get back in. You cannot time the market. So I would say, if you have some extra money to throw around, by all means, be buying it up now while it's low, while it doesn't look good. That's when your opportunities are there, before it begins to shift and get better. Once you're in that realm, you're kind of behind the 8 ball. It's a little bit too late at that point. So still, as in always, just consistently investing is your best way to go about it.
All right. Well, April, thank you very much. I know you're still doing some work from home, and we appreciate the time that you're putting in. So thank you very much, and thank you for taking the time with chatting with us.
Sure.
All right.
Anytime.
We are going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this. Welcome back. Well, we've checked in on Huntsville and Bracebridge, but how are businesses in Gravenhurst doing? Well, we've got the update.
Gravenhurst businesses a lot of them are self-isolating. A lot of them are working remotely. We at the Chamber are working remotely, and we've been in touch with many of our members. Of course, there are some that are negatively impacted. Restaurants, tourism industry, accommodators, and those that are non-essential businesses. I'd really like everybody to remember to come back and, thank these businesses later and make sure we shop in them and support them when things come back. And the restaurants, of course, some are takeout, but I'm talking about the ones that are not able to open their dining facilities. We have, when reaching out to our members, we found some good news stories too. Some people are a lot busier. Our cottage friends have returned early, and that means they're needing supplies and services, keeping things busy. Other businesses are working with the transition of people who are working remotely, need internet services, different supplies, things they didn't require. So it's really interesting talking to people that there are some businesses that are so busy because of that. We've decided to reach out to every single member, so we're phoning them, having a voice on the end of the line. We're finding out what we can do to support them, what they're looking for, if there's a message they want us to share, all of those things, and they're really, really appreciating us reaching back. We are trying to share as much information as we can, connecting them to resources, and we are working really hard to first make sure the businesses remain top of mind. We're doing some virtual after hours. We've got one of those in the works. We have experiences, almost like businesses are, instead of hosting an after hour, they're going to be hosting a visual, like either a Facebook experience or something like that, so they can show their stuff and share it, and that's what we're doing. And we are really just thinking about the future. At the Chamber right now, like everyone else, we're watching for the next few weeks to see what happens. We're really hopeful that things will be wrapped up in June and we can have our car show, start the season off that way, and welcome our cottage friends back and go out in the street and see each other again. So we are working behind the scenes, getting everything ready. If car show doesn't go, then we have other plans too. So we're ready, and we're ready to help our businesses be ready for the spring.
Well, here we are at the last break of the show, but if you stay tuned, I've got a recap of today's news highlights, and I've got a little treat for you as well. Stay tuned. Welcome back, and as promised, here's a recap of today's headlines. 5 new cases of COVID-19 have been confirmed in Muskoka, with residents from Huntsville and Gravenhurst. All were travel related and all are in self-isolation. And according to the health unit, have been since they returned to Canada. The North Bay Parry Sound Health Unit also reported its first case of community spread COVID-19, which confirms it is out in the community now, according to officials. And we could be seeing COVID-19 assessment centers opening in both Huntsville and Bracebridge by Wednesday, according to health officials. We'll have more details on that on tomorrow's episode of Cogeco News. And as always, you can get all the local COVID-19 updates right here and on our live stream of this cast by visiting yourtv.tv at 5 p.m. during the week. That is Cogeco News. And for more information on the show, head over to yourtv.tv. You can check our schedule and find us on social media by searching Your TV Muskoka. Remember to catch us live at 5 Monday to Thursday. From everyone here at Cogeco News, thanks for watching, and I'm leaving you tonight with the sounds of Amazing Grace as performed by Huntsville's Cameron Renwick on Sunday morning. Stay home, stay healthy, and most importantly, don't forget to stay positive.